So we're getting the ball rolling one time because we're talking social media and we're looking at the good, the bad, and the responsibility. And just to make everyone a little bit aware of who you are, I would like you to share your name, a little about yourself.
Wow. Well, my name is Wendell Bompart. A little about myself. So let me give you in a nutshell, the stages. I am a prisons officer. I am a radio announcer. I am a master of ceremony slash host, event host. I am a singer. I am a saxophonist. And that is it in a nutshell. In terms of my work with prisons, I've been in prison service for 27 years. What was officer 27 years. I'm currently an acting prison supervisor, which for those of you who may not know is the same rank in terms of police as an inspector. I know that people don't know the different brigadier ranks in the services. So um, prison supervisor is equivalent to inspector in police. I am currently one of the supervisors at the women's facility here in Esposito. And that is what I do on a day-to-day basis. I'm a radio announcer for W107 one FM gospel station, best gospel station. And as I said, I'm a red host and a musician.
Okay, great, Mr. Event Host, and etc. etc. So, Wendell, I want you to tell me a little bit in terms of social media. You do utilize social media as well.
Yeah, very
Yeah.
much. I
Very much.
have been on social media since before Facebook, when MySpace was something. And
Uh-huh.
because a lot of people don't remember MySpace. But I love, like most people made the migration into Facebook, Instagram. I've never been a Twitter slash threads slash X person. Uh, Never gravitated towards that. TikTok, yes, definitely. Um, It's a TikTok. As a matter of fact, like most people during COVID, I went heavily into TikTok and I love comedy, so I would been doing different skits and little scenarios created for myself on social media, on TikTok. So it's always a balance. It's a balance of balancing the two. Um, There's a being serious and of course being fun at the same time.
As a prison officer, have you utilized the social media in any way when it comes to your job as a prison officer? Because I know you may use it in media as a broadcaster, but what about in the prison service?
Prisons officer, I don't utilize it in terms of um disseminating information. The prison service does as well, because we have a communications department. And the communications department, they would, from time to time, because we have a very active social media presence, Facebook and Instagram, as far as prisons is concerned. So most of the information that we have, events we have going on in prisons, quite a lot of events, programming on rehabilitative programs that we have that we showcase on social media. So the prison service utilizes social media to a large extent.
Would you say, therefore, that the use of social media has changed or even enhanced the way the prison service and information is shared by the prison service now?
Um, from 2005 to 2016, I was the communications officer in the prison service. And around that time, once you have an event, you will send out your press releases, you will send out your invitations to the media, hoping that media shows up. And when they show up, you're hoping that they showcase exactly what it is, the message you want to send out. So sometimes you will strike the risk of the invited media to come to, let's say we had our art exhibition in Tudor. You know, have the art exhibition and the media comes, but yet when they come and they interview the commissioner and the minister, they talk about the room officers and they highlight the officers who have been arrested for trafficking and that kind of thing. And the main story gets hidden. With social media, with the advent of social media, now because we have our communications department, we can create our content We could create our videos, we could create our little snippets, or messages, and we could now first jump on the Facebook page, first jump on Instagram, and just tag all the media houses, and they will pull the information from that. So it has got more easier to disseminate information as far as prisons and prison services concerned.
Now, social media has with it a lot of concerns. Are there no policies in place with regards to your to the prison service on the whole and the use of social media for these activities?
Most of our events once it's traveled towards to rehabilitation, restoration of inmates, the inmates are involved. Because of that, even before social media, once you do anything with video or anything, the inmates must sign leases, right? They must sign leases before the images broadcast on any electronic or even print media. The social media is the same. Once we have an event, we have our policies that govern the how we showcase the inmates, when we can showcase the inmates. Of course, YTRC, which is the Transformative and Rehabilitation Center, which is the youth arm of the prison,
Yeah.
is mainly governed by the Children's Authority. So because of that, anything concerning the youth, we don't post them, of course, on social media and stuff like that. So there's quite a lot of policies we have in place, but it's mainly geared towards the safeguarding of the identities and the privacy of the inmates. As far as officers are concerned, though, we have an act, we have a rule, a prison rule, that governs the code of conduct that says that a prison officer cannot disseminate or make any public statement that has to do with the government, with politics, or anything like that on media, and social media falls into that category.
You talk about inmates, and particularly the young persons who may be in YTC, giving consent to participate in these social media presentations.
Let me just correct you, the young people, they can't give consent. But the other inmates, yes, they have to give consent.
Yeah. So with the young persons, it would be
Their parents or the authority will have that that consent, to utilize it with any kind of footage or anything like that.
so, which leads me to the next question because in the normal stream of things, you and I post something on social media and we want to know who likes it. We want to see ourselves. We want to know what's going on, how much people viewed this and our content. So, how is that dealt with? Do they want to see themselves on social media?
You will be amazed. Quite a few of them don't want to see themselves. So they don't give consent. But when we post stuff, especially for instance, we just recently had our graduation in collaboration with the Auxiliary Prime Minister and the Ministry of Community Development, where we had the women that were involved in a just making reconstruction act, right? And of course, we had to get their consent. So they have been behind us every minute. Who didn't see it? Who didn't see the news broadcast? Who didn't see that? So we want to see it. So, there will be times when we want to see themselves. We'll have had their carnival showcase for the carnival period, for the Calypso competition that had a lot of airplay as far as the media is concerned. So, because they don't really have a television fixed in their area to see news, when they get the opportunity, we want to see the news broadcast. We want to see what was shown as far as their performances are concerned.
Still, they're seeing it on news, different from seeing it on social media. And like I said, seeing those number of views and likes and shares.
Well, they're not, I would say that they're not very interested in that because that is more the prison service because of analytics and because, of course, you want to see what sort of traffic you're getting. So the communications department, they are more concerned with the likes and stuff like that than the inmates in terms of what is posted, you know?
And how are these analytics being utilized then by your communications department?
Well, that's a question you have to ask the communication department because I know they're very much, of course, because they very much aware of the impact that any news coming out of the prisons will have, we look greatly at the numbers based on the news information is just like newsworthy because we will post that news clips. Um, the commissioner might make a press release, might make a statement about ongoing things in the prison, as opposed to, as I say, photos or images of the inmates doing something that are in the realm of rehabilitation or officers doing something in the realm of themselves, whether it be in the line of duty, excelling in something in the line of duty, excelling academically, because we showcase all those things that we present. So, quite recently, they would have done an interview on me, with all the various facets of what I do, um, outside our prisons. So things like that is what the prison service will showcase. And they will track the analytics in terms of the viewership. Remember, you really can't, other than, um, I think Instagram, I think Facebook as well. They will go into the demographics, the age group, the 30 age group, look at the genders in terms of male, female, in terms of to kind of dictate how they post and what they post as far as content is concerned.
Okay, so we've spoken a lot about some of the good aspects of social media. So I'm going to take you down a different realm right now. And as well, back to you saying that you are on social media and you're very active. Social media is a good place to be. How true is that for many of the officers in the prison service in terms of being on social media and working closely with inmates?
So social media, everyone is well aware, is a two-edged sword, is a double-edged sword, right? So whilst of course there will be the positives, the negatives, however, um, are also there. For instance, when you are highlighting officers, it has to be aware of the rogue elements in society who may be looking at these officers, maybe looking at me, looking at somebody else, and just, targeting them because they okay. So this officer did so and so. Is be at this place, that kind of thing. So totally mindful about. So a lot because of what's happening in society right now, you find it quite the majority of officers would prefer not to be showcased on social media, based on those evidence. So there's that aspect of it. In terms of the negatives as well, we still have a lot of people who have not bought in to the concept of the rehabilitation of inmates. They have not bought into the concept of restorative justice, which is that tripartite approach to rehabilitation, the community, the victim, the offender, um, that kind of thing. So because of that, you open yourself up sometimes. You may make a post of something that's very, very positive, right? We showcase that inmate who was excelling in doing something. For example, there's an inmate who gave a speech at an event and would have made mention of something that they want to do when they leave. And there were a lot of positive comments. There were quite a few nasty comments about, in other words, why it is you should get another chance. And, whatever you do, this person have lost their life, and why did you give you another chance? And, even sometimes to the point of threats. When they come out here to fight, you will fight me on that kind of. So, of course, there is that aspect of the negative, when it comes to social media.
In that same vein, because you've heard stories when it comes to um, inmates now and devices, right? So let's talk a little bit about devices and inmates having access, because I know you said most of them don't want to see themselves on social media, but they may want to see what's happening in the world outside, and social media gives you that opportunity.
So, you're asking in terms of inmates having devices. That's an absolute. That's a prohibited article, right? Cell phones, pagers, anything, tablets, computers, those things are unauthorized and prohibited as far as inmates are concerned. And whilst people may argue that it's a way for them to contact their families and to keep in touch with their families, we have avenues that they can do so legally. But We don't encourage or condone the use or we use of electronic devices as far as rules and that way. So
And I guess that that would hold as well for visits to the prisons to see inmates in terms of persons coming in with devices.
someone coming into the prison must declare your cell phone or electronic device. Must be up at the entrance before you come in. Yeah, it goes for me.
I'm not sure you should be able to respond to this one, but I'm going to ask anyway. In terms of any I'm not quite sure that as part of the prison service, you all have any data or statistics as it relates to offenders that use social media um, in crimes or inmates that may have used social media in crimes. Anything of the sort.
I'm not saying you don't have the data, but of course, any use of social media by an inmate will be illegal, right? Will definitely be tracked and will be shut down as fast as possible. But in terms of data, I don't have any data to see like how many inmates have access to. I'm hoping it's none.
But not just in, I mean like those that who may have been um brought in
Yeah.
because of crimes that are related to
To all related to that. Right, right. Okay.
yeah.
Um, we of course there's the aspect of cyberbullying and the whole legislation now that covers that governs that. We do have I could say from where I am, I don't think we have anybody who is here for is here for any crimes concerning social media. We have persons who may be here for crimes that social media may have been used in tools of setting up a meet for some nefarious activity or setting up a meet to con somebody for something. But in terms of hard data, I don't know.
Okay, okay. Would you say therefore that social media has enhanced or in some way allowed your job to be a little bit more, for want of a better word, easier um, over the years?
I think again, it's a double-edged sword. Social media would have definitely, in terms of social media would have raised the level in terms of the visibility of the present. So you find that now we somebody may not have read papers or not done a news report. They would have seen something on social media about, hey, so that art exhibition being going, or see that a graduation being going, wow, see 25 women did well since the second and women's preserve. So it would have raised the visibility. So it just making it easier. It helps us in terms of making a case for certain things that people will be more aware of what is happening in the prison service, more so than without the advent of social.
I know you said that there are some policies in place. Do you think, however, because social media is expanding, technology is expanding, do you think that there's need for more policies? And if so, what areas do you think need to be enhanced?
Well, that's a tricky question. I say it's tricky because personally, and my personal view will not count, but personally, I think the rehabilitation of inmates as far as it comes to changing their cognitive or when it comes to CBT, cognitive behavioral therapy and stuff like that. Social media in terms of getting them acclimatized to some of the changes in society. I think social media could aid with that, with sensitizing them to what's happening outside. So when they come out of prison, it's not a shell shock in terms of the changes that have been going around them. Social media would, I see it could have them in terms of seeing the visuals of what's happening. Simple thing like seeing an area that for those who have been in prison, let's say 15, 16, 20 years, seeing what the area looks like or the community looks like, even from behind his written. Dice and James, I can't remember St. James being like that. Look at this, and it starts to get um, acclimatized vision, or even cognitively as to what is happening outside there. Um, how society is changing, what is going on. There was a time where I remember, because I'm a person still 27 years, sometimes even the music that they are familiar with is things that would have been long gone because, there was like too many radios in prison and that kind of thing. No, but the fact that we have our very own prison radio, Rise Maximum Radio, um, they have different stations spread through the prisons at points in time. They're more aware and up to date in what's happening in society. So that is one thing that I think in terms of social media for the inmates. I think that is something that we could definitely look at.
In terms of that whole dynamics, what would you say? Everybody has a responsibility when it comes to social media. So I want you to share with me your ideas in terms of what the public should do. What do you think is the public's responsibility, and what is the responsibility of you guys as officers
Now, you said responsibility to the public as far as social media in general, or the prisons.
in relation to, yeah,
I think understanding what we are doing and understanding the purpose and why we do what we do at the prisons, why we post the things we post, why we showcase the things we will showcase. I think also the responsibility of understanding that when an inmate, or as we call them, our clients, come into the prison service, they come to prisons as punishment. They don't come to prisons for punishment. Being in prison is the punishment. That is the punishment. So if you decide that you should stay away from this and stay away from that, and the crucial comforts of why should they have social media in prison? Why should they have access to computers? Why should they have access to education? You don't want to go to school before. You have to remember that if you these people will come back out at some point in time, the majority of them. And when they come back out, what would you prefer? Someone who's rehabilitated because of access to different training and different programs and even social media. Someone who's changed and in a better place cognitively and spiritually and everything. Or somebody who has no access and hasn't changed at all and just come back out an older criminal. You know? So I think understanding that is something that the public can do.
in terms of prison officers, and what would you say is now your responsibility when it comes to social media? Know that someone who is on social media as a prison officer, what advice would you probably give to them?
I would advise them as much as possible to be advocates for um change in the prison service, positive change, and be advocates for that, for us to get or to have people become stakeholders in our job and our task as prison service when it comes to rehabilitation. I don't think people should bully anybody into doing something like that. I don't think people should commit their whole lives or say, because I'm a prison officer, all I should do when I come on social media is talk about prisons. But when you have the opportunity to defend what is right, then defend what is right. When you have the opportunity to highlight the positives, then highlight the positives. Or whatever the prison service that is beneficial to not just the inmates, but to society, then I think it is your duty to do so.
Okay, great. Well, on that note, I want to thank you so very much, Mr. Wendell Bompart, for sitting and chatting and sharing your experiences with us as we discuss the good, the bad, and the responsibility of social media.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it. And thank you for taking the time to include us in your journey.
No, thank you.